everybody, I am here with Jason Haber, who is the producer on the new reboot of SimCity. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I just saw your game, so I'm actually pretty stoked to talk to you about it. So, SimCity, it's back. It looks like SimCity. I'm excited about it. What was the inspiration to bring it back now, after all these years?
Well, as you know, SimCity is the original city building simulation. And for years, ever since SimCity 4, we've wanted to bring it back, but we needed the technology to sort of catch up to where we need to be. And really, Glassbox is the engine that we've wanted to build to make this new SimCity. And finally, we have the technology. We have the technology to be able to do it. And plus the fact that we have the internet connection is really present throughout the world, really allows us to have that online connectivity that we need to have that multiplayer.
So let's talk about the Glassbox engine a little bit. There was a phrase you used that I was like, there was integrity to it. Was it the way you were phrasing it? Like, what does that mean in the context of the game?
Right, so we like to say Glassbox is a simulation with integrity, where what you see is what we sim. So everything you see in the game, every car driving around, every sim walking around, even the buildings themselves, is actually what's happening underneath the engine. So you'll see buildings get graffiti when they have crime, or if you have fire, obviously it's fire, but you see sims walking from home to work, and that's actually what's happening in the simulation engine. And you can even peel back that engine and look at those data layers, and that sort of visualizes the data in a really easy to read, easy to access way.
Well, so what's some examples that what if I'm peeling back and I'm kind of looking at that data flow, what's something that I can see that I wouldn't be able to see just looking at the main thing?
One of the things power is one of the great examples. When you look at the power layer, you can watch the energy sort of flow out from a power source and go through the city and get sucked up by those buildings. And so it's really obvious if you don't have enough power because it only flows too far. And so in the example we showed today, we showed the power example, you can see the yellow lines sort of show where you have power and the red shows where you don't. Another example of one of our heavier data layers, we like to call them heavy data layers, where we sort of peel back the graphics, is our crime layer. And so while we do have the graffiti to show you what's going on, we can switch over to this crime layer, and it gives you a really in-depth look at what's going on. It sort of paints the landscape with crime.
So basically what you're saying is all graffiti artists are criminals, and if there is graffiti around, they must be destroyed, is what you're getting at.
All I'm saying is that graffiti is indicative of crime.
Fair enough. So multiplayer is obviously a huge element that you're introducing. It's asynchronous multiplayer where people can build their own towns, but you're all part of the same region. How do you connect those players? How are you building out that region and getting people to start in these different regions?
Right, so when you start a new region, you'll have a sort of a choice of how you want to play it. You can play solo, or you can play all the cities on your own. You can select to play only with friends or people you invite. We're still trying to figure out the exact mechanic. And then you can also just jump into a random region with strangers. And we think all of those will be fun, different ways to play. So,
and can you have open regions or closed regions for just you and your friends?
Oh yeah, you'll be able to do that.
Now, what are some of the ways that the interaction between the towns work? The one thing you showed was the airport project, where all the towns were providing resources to build this airport that benefits everybody. What's some of the other stuff you can build and work in with your friends?
Right, so that was a great work, which is sort of how all the cities collaborate on one big project. And we'll have things like space shuttles, and we have solar farms and arcologies, which everybody loves, and of course the airport we've shown you, and there'll be a lot more of those. And the other thing you can do is there'll be benefits you sort of share with your neighbors or trade with your neighbors. So we had an example of power. So we had an industrial town that was generating a lot of power, and they were offering it over to their neighbor. And then you can hook up to that, and you don't need your own power plant in your own city. And then finally, there's the choices you make will sort of ripple out across the region. So as we saw with that crime example, there was a bunch of crime in the city, and then it actually rippled out and caused a criminal to appear in another city.
Now, I'm kind of an old school SimCity fan. I played a lot of the very early games. I kind of stopped around SimCity 2000 because, quite frankly, it just got a little too complicated for my feeble brain. Somewhere around the time...
Yeah. SimCity 2000 was too much?
Sometime around the time plumbing got introduced, it was just too much for me to deal with. But looking at the engine and the way you were sort of building stuff out, it seems like it looks incredibly complicated, but the way you actually sift through stuff is pretty simple. How are you kind of building out this interface to deal with thieves like me?
Well, I mean, that's sort of one of the goals of rebuilding this game, was to make it so it's really accessible again. I mean, I assure you the complexity is still there under the surface, so those fans of the really deep simulation are going to be really, really happy with what they see. We've also made it really easy to understand what you need to do. And so those data layers are a big, big part of that. So you can look at your power layer, your water layer, your crime layer, and you'll know exactly sort of what actions you need to take to move forward from there.
what's the thing for you personally? Like, what's the thing looking at this game and I'm just going like, this is the thing that I have always wanted in this game. This is the thing I am most excited about.
I mean, to me, it's the Glassbox simulation engine. It's really amazing to watch this simulation engine and really see how it's simulating from the bottom up. I mean, seeing every piece of the game and just seeing how it's going to work. I mean, it really is a new engine that is going to drive a whole new SimCity.
Awesome. When can we expect to play this on our PCs that we will inevitably have to buy in the next few months?
Well, SimCity is coming out for the PC in February 2013.
Awesome. Thank you so much, dude.